Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video on Mono Sports Talk. Me going over the Texans as a Texans fan, pretty much everything about the Deshaun Watson trade, Jack Easterby, Cal McNair, and basically the situation going around as the Houston Texans organization are going through possibly the worst stretch imaginable, and it's really tough and really honestly embarrassing to watch this organization go through what they've done so far, man. It's not been too great as a Texans fan, but we're going to be going over pretty much a situation that the Texans have put themselves in right now. So it's not been great for the Houston Texans. Honestly, they've been pretty embarrassing, and they're straight up one of the worst organizations in the NFL. I mean, it's not been really great what they've been doing. And this is not an example of how organizations should be run, especially in the National Football League. Honestly, it's looking like this team should be sold, honestly, because the way that they're playing... Also, because of the fact that, I mean, they're just not a good team. They're not well run. The culture that has been established is not too great. And that's why you've seen players come out and say stuff like this. J.J. Watt being released, and now Deshaun Watson requesting the trade. It's been a terrible stretch for the Houston Texans. It's pretty much, honestly, for the Houston city, it's been pretty bad the past couple of years. And you can name how many players we've lost. DeAndre Hopkins to that terrible trade. J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Deshaun Watson wanting a trade, Dwayne Brown, all the first-round picks that Bill O'Brien gave away. We had Brian Game, the former GM, who was fired. Bob McNair, unfortunately, passed away, the former owner. And his son has been really terrible, honestly, running this organization. And then Rick Smith, the former GM of the Houston Texans. But the list goes on. And then for the city of Houston itself, you have George Springer, who signed a huge deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. You also have James Harden, obviously, in that trade to the Brooklyn Nets. Honestly, I don't care. James Harden can leave. He never really did much for Houston anyway. That's okay. Russell Westbrook, but I think we got better with John Wall. But yeah, I mean, we've lost a lot of star talent over the years in the Houston sports area. It's been pretty tough, but I feel like when trading Deshaun Watson, if he can get a good package back, at least 3 first-round picks, a couple of second-round picks, a star defensive player, maybe a quarterback as well, that would really set up the Texans well. But honestly, you never know what the Texans will do. They'll probably just mess it up anyway, because that's what they've been doing their entire lives since 2002. That's what it's been. Besides J.J. Watt, drafting him in 2011 was a miracle for this city and for Texans fans. Andre Johnson as well. Bob McNair, honestly, was a pretty decent owner, besides the fact that he said the jail stuff, inmates running the prison, all that nonsense. I mean, honestly, every time you feel the Texans are doing something good, they just kill you with what the stupid thing that they do next. You can never trust them here in Houston, and that's why Houston is not going to be a football city. I mean, everybody supports the Texans here, but I mean, the Astros are always going to be the centerpiece. Same thing with the Rockets. The Texans, until they can prove they can get it done and establish a winning culture, with a culture that players want to do, and, just a proper culture that represents the city of Houston in the best way. Until that happens, it's not going to be good down here, and it hasn't been. It's been a terrible situation right now for the Houston Texans. Obviously, J.J. Watt being released, there are always questions about, why did they just release him? I guess that's what J.J. Watt wanted. That's all you could do. He's a free agent. You release him, let him go to where he wants. That's pretty much what he can do for the franchise's cornerstone and the face of the franchise for the past 10 years. That's what you should do. I think the Texans handled it pretty decently well, although teams are willing to give up assets. Look, J.J. Watt in the Twitter message said he didn't want any sort of press conference, anything. He wanted to speak to us directly. And if you saw that message, that was really good. That was really heartwarming for me, especially to see. But look, we're going to be talking about, obviously Deshaun Watson trade. Cal McNair, honestly, has been a terrible owner. Bob McNair's son has not been too great as the owner of the Houston Texans. Nick Caserio, the new GM of the Houston Texans. And obviously Jack Easterby, the executive vice president of football operations here. If you don't know, there's a sign here in Houston that says fire Easterby. Pretty much everybody wants Jack Easterby to get the hell out of here. I want him to get the hell out of here. I don't want to see him again. Honestly, he's really bad. It's just horrible. But let's talk about Deshaun Watson. Honestly, the Texans signed him last year to a 4-year, $156 million contract. At that stage, I thought he's going to be a Texan for life. Pretty much, we got our future star, and we're going to win a couple of Super Bowls with our man. But here comes up, the Texans go 4-12 with Deshaun Watson putting the team on his back, giving them 4 wins. Otherwise, they would have been an 0-16 team. Deshaun did everything he could, honestly, and it just wasn't enough. The teammates didn't support him, and they need to. They always choke in the big moments. The defense was honestly trash, bottom of the league in pretty much every category except sacks, and nobody was able to support him. The coaching, honestly, was pretty much average after Bill O'Brien left. Obviously, Bill O'Brien was a terrible head coach, but in his contract, he has a no-trade clause, which means he can reject certain trade offers. He has a big say in which and where he wants to go, so that pretty much helps Deshaun Watson. Obviously, he doesn't have control over everything, but he can say no to certain trade offers, which probably he doesn't want to go to the New York Jets. He would say no to that. He wants to go to the 49ers. He wants to go to the Broncos. He'll say yes to that. So he has that option in his contract. We'll see how he uses that, because honestly, Deshaun Watson is going to be traded. I don't care what the Texans' terrible front office is going to be saying. They're saying all that nonsense about, oh, we're not going to be trading Deshaun. Deshaun's going to be a Texan for life. Yeah, all that, extra nonsense. But honestly, they're going to trade him when the offer comes around. I don't think it's going to be like the James Harden issue for the Rockets. That was really toxic. In the locker room, he wasn't cooperating. Deshaun is a much better human being. He'll cooperate in the best he can and the way he should, which is what he's doing right now. Honestly, the way the Texans have treated him, he's doing it the right way. And honestly, anybody who says otherwise really doesn't know what's really going on for the Houston Texans. I mean, the Texans will be losing Deshaun Watson. Like I said, the organization is just saying that. Honestly, it's honestly just going to increase the price. I think his price tag has already increased. If you remember the Matthew Stafford trade, they got 3 first-round picks out of Matthew Stafford plus Jared Goff and a 3rd-round pick or 2nd-round pick, one of those two. If you're getting Matthew Stafford for that, imagine what you're getting for Deshaun Watson. Come on, guys. He's much younger. He's a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford pretty much ever was, honestly. He's a top 2 quarterback in the league. Patrick Mahomes, and you'd say Deshaun Watson, right? So the Texans at least get 4 first-round picks, a couple of 2nd-round picks, maybe a couple of players as well, probably a star player included in that, and a quarterback. So the Texans, when they trade Deshaun Watson, I mean when they trade him, they're going to get a king's ransom, just like the Rockets got for James Harden. They're going to get that plus more. Unfortunately, we're losing the player that I loved on the Texans. He was our future. He was going to win us a couple of Super Bowls. I know that. He had that personality. He had that leadership. He had the playmaking abilities. He had everything. Honestly, he had one of the best years of his career, even though the Texans went 4-12. He had a 70% completion, led the league in passing yards at 4,823, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and he also had 444 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns and a 71 QBR. QBR based on wins also kind of changes that, but he played out of his mind. He put the team on his back. He did everything he could. It just didn't work out. The coaching, the culture, the defense, none of them supported him. I honestly thought he had a pretty good offense to help him out. Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller for the most of the season. Obviously, the back end of the season was pretty rough for Deshaun. You had Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, Will Fuller. You had pretty good tight ends, a decent offensive line. I feel the Texans' offensive line isn't as bad as it used to. Deshaun honestly makes it look worse because Deshaun Watson holds the ball way too long. That's something he needs to change in his game. I know he's trying to make those plays. That's what he's good at. But at some point, you got to throw this away. That's what a big difference within Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson is. Patrick Mahomes is much more smarter with the football, honestly. But look, he's going to get traded. The Texans are trying to increase the price. Obviously, they're going to say he's going to be a Texan. That's what they have to say. But Deshaun Watson hasn't answered their calls in so long. He hasn't been responsive to any of their texts or messages or calls. He's not going to respond back anytime soon, honestly. On Twitter, he's been posting cryptic messages, if you've been noticing. So he's not going to stay here. Honestly, it's going to be difficult for the Texans to get any sort of quarterback to come here because they know if Deshaun is honestly one of the nicest human beings. If Deshaun isn't willing to stay here, then it's going to be tough for pretty much anybody to stay here. We'll just have to see, honestly. But look, for me, for the Texans, Cal McNair and Jack Easterby honestly ruined it. Cal McNair has a big fault in this as well. He pretty much ruined the whole situation. I don't know what he sees in Jack Easterby, honestly. He's basically abiding with Jack Easterby, doing whatever he wants to keep him, I guess. I'm not really sure what he sees in Jack Easterby anyway. He needs to be fired. He's not good. There was honestly a very embarrassing video of Jack Easterby. I'll show you that a bit later. But honestly, Cal McNair ruined it he ruined Deshaun Watson's future here in Houston. He lied to him. He betrayed him. Deshaun was selected by teammates to talk to management as well. And Cal McNair said, yeah, you're going to have a great input on the GM, who we're going to choose for our GM. You're going to have a great input with who we choose. You're going to have a voice in the front office. They lied to him, straight up lied to him. What kind of organization does that? They betrayed him. I can't believe that. It is really disgusting because the entire organization honestly lied to him. I don't understand what their problem is, honestly. Getting Jack Easterby here just ruined everything. And Cal McNair had a big fault in this as well. I mean, if you're gonna say it, keep your word, man. Keep your word. If you're gonna say that he's gonna have word in it, come on. If you don't want him to have any word in that, just don't say it in the first place, okay? Honestly, that's what people are complaining about, that, well, you can't have that much say in the front office and stuff. Well, if they promised him, then you should live up to the promise, right? You can't just betray your promise. Like, if you say you're going to do it, you better do that. And they didn't do that. If you weren't going to do it in the first place, don't make that promise anyway. They did, and Deshaun Watson is furious. He's mad at the Texans, and they are going to be trading him sometime soon. We'll have to see, because it's probably going to be one of the biggest trades in NFL history. I totally understand what Deshaun is doing. I think he's doing it. I agree with him. The way this organization treated him is not really good. And he requested a trade a few weeks before it was broke by Shannon Sharp on Undisputed. But honestly, for me, if Deshaun Watson is going to be traded, for me, it's at least 4 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a good defensive player. That would work as well. Or 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and a good defensive player and a quarterback. I mean, there are a lot of options. You could do 3 firsts and a second for a very young defensive star, plus a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick, whatever. Or there are a lot of different options you can go here. There's a 4-team trade that people have talked about with Russell Wilson and stuff, but honestly, I really doubt that's going to happen. All this stuff happens in the offseason where Russell Wilson's going to say this, or different quarterbacks say this and that, but honestly, nothing happens. But for me, Deshaun's targeting a couple of teams here. The 49ers, honestly, is probably the biggest one right now. The Broncos, surprisingly, another big option. He doesn't really want to go to the Jets. There's Seahawks as well, maybe a Russell Wilson for Deshaun Watson type thing. The Chicago Bears, I don't think they don't deserve Deshaun Watson at all. There are a lot of options you can go, but I think the 49ers are the best option. To me, the 49ers can offer Jimmy Garoppolo, Eric Armstead, 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. For Deshaun Watson, you get a solid quarterback, a good defensive player, 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks as well. That would be solid. But honestly, since 49ers are getting lower first-round picks, you'd probably need 4 first-round picks, maybe 3 or 4 second-round picks as well. So that's how it's going to work, honestly. Next up, we got the GM, Nick Caserio. He is the GM. He was part of the Patriots earlier on. The Texans wanted to get him earlier. They were accused of tampering. They finally got their man. This was the guy they wanted without consulting Deshaun Watson. The Texans wanted Nick Caserio so bad. Cal McNair, Jack Easterby, they really wanted him. So they hired him. They didn't even listen to what Deshaun Watson had to say. Deshaun had a couple of options, maybe the Steelers GM. He had some different guys on his list. They didn't even listen to him. They didn't care. It's simple as that. And Deshaun got offended and he wants out. Get it. Nick Caserio used to be part of the Patriots. Texans want him. We'll see what he's got. I'm not really sure. Honestly, the Texans are trying to do the Patriot way in the South. Hasn't worked too well so far, guys. You may want to change that up, I guess. It's not really a good idea. It's not turning out really well at all. And Nick Caserio referred to Deshaun Watson as the player. the player, like, that's not good at all. That's really bad, and it's a bad impression, and it was too late. And honestly, the Texans, they listened to Deshaun Watson too late. After Deshaun stopped calling them, then they realized their mistake. Then they started interviewing Leslie Frazier, Eric Bieniemy. Then they started doing all that stuff. And they didn't listen to him on the head coaching options either. Robert Saleh as well. They didn't interview guys until after Deshaun Watson said he's upset and he's not responding. So they reacted way too late. It was an afterthought, honestly. And here is Jack Easterby, the executive vice president of football operations. He had this very embarrassing video made a fool of himself, honestly, with this corny comedy video. It was really bad. He has honestly ruined the Texans. There's no culture, there's no professionalism going on here, all because of Jack Easterby. He's also a pastor, a speaker, and an author, honestly. So he does a lot of different things. He is not a good executive vice president. He honestly controls the Texans in a lot of ways that we don't know. He controls the Texans in so many different ways, and that's why they have suffered because of him. It's not good. This is not good. But look, the Texans hired David Culley as their next head coach. Honestly, I think we need to give David Culley a chance. I think he can do good down here in Houston. It's going to be pretty much a rebuild going on here, but I think he can be successful. We got to give him a chance. He seems to be a good guy. The players like him. Even Deshaun Watson liked him. They tried to keep Deshaun because of him. I think he might be a good head coach. But they're going to be going through a rebuild. I think he can be good. He's been with a lot of teams. He's 65 years old. His 27th year as an NFL coach. He was the assistant head coach, wide receivers coach, and passing game coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. Has been with a lot of teams like Buffalo and Kansas City. It's his first time as a head coach. He's also a black head coach, so the Texans did hire a black head coach. They're one of the few teams to do so this year in the coaching carousel. Obviously, no Eric Bieniemy was hired. Really disappointed in that. For the NFL, it's honestly pretty bad to see how very few black coaches are being hired. I like David Culley. I think he has a good future here. I really want to see what he's got. I'd like to see him lead the team well, and it would be great to see him pair to Deshaun Watson, but unfortunately, that's not how it's going to go. But I think I like David Culley. I think he can be great here. And the Texans did hire a big move here. They hired Lovie Smith as their new defensive coordinator. Obviously, former defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver was fired. He wasn't too great. The defense was pretty much bad in every single category, except mediocre in sacks. Honestly, Lovie Smith may not be any better than that. Lovie Smith was the former head coach of the Bears, the Bucks, was part of the Rams organization as well, and was the University of Illinois' head coach. He was fired from all these positions. He led the Bears to the Super Bowl against the Peyton Manning-led Colts. He was also great in Tampa Bay. He was actually the father of the Tampa 2 system scheme, which he did in Tampa Bay, of course. Honestly, one of the best systems in the league. He made one of the best defenses in league history. Honestly, the scheme is a cover 2 with 2 safeties playing deep. Got the corners, and then he got the middle linebacker playing in the middle of the zone coverage. He has big responsibility. It was one of the best defenses. If you have the right personnel, speedy physical corners on the edges, and then some strong linebackers and a solid 4-man rush, it can work pretty well. But it's different now. The modern NFL offense really limits the effectiveness of this defense. The skills of tight ends over the middle of the field, such as George Kittle, Travis Kelce, can really break open this defense. Obviously, the restrictions in the passing game with different pass interference calls and holding and different stuff like that, it may not be as effective. So the Texans have a lot of work. Obviously, with the draft picks they get for Deshaun Watson, they can maybe make something out of this defense. We'll have to see. They got a lot of different pieces the Texans need. They need a pass rusher. They need corners, a safety. They need interior defensive linemen as well. And then offensively, they need a lot of pieces as well. They need offensive line, obviously quarterback now, running back. Those are the main options. Maybe another wide receiver. We'll have to see. But Texans have a lot of holes. I feel that with the future of this coaching staff led by David Culley, the Texans may have a bright future, but it's going to be tough unless they fire Jack Easterby. The Texans are not going to be successful with the current front office of Cal McNair and Jack Easterby. It's honestly not looking too good for the Texans. That's my opinion of the Texans right now. Honestly, all I can do is hope for the better. That's it. If you made it this far, please go down, hit the like button. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, really appreciate you tuning in and watching. I'm coming out with more local content for my sports. Houston Texans will be coming out with Rockets videos soon. Once again, hope you enjoyed it. Keep tuning up to this channel. Thanks for all the support and hope to see you in the next video.